I've always written stories about things that are so terrible. You'll run away until your brain won't remember.
So why did you come back?
I'm here for research.
What exactly though are you researching?
Another sleepless night, just like the ones that came before.
Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary in the lot recently?
Or is it something more? Let's try to find that we've been looking for.
There are some folks who had some kind of unusual experiences.
They used to tell us stories about this place.
You have no idea what you're getting yourself into here.
Danny, where are you? Answer me.
This is not a disease you can catch.
Or is it something more?
Let me in.
If we don't fight back, they'll come for us eventually.
Is it something more?
Things have gone bad in the lot now.
Is it something more?
It's not safe!
Another sleepless night, is it something more?
And good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Welcome to day 19 of 31 Days of Monsters. I'm your host, Graham Nolan. And today we're talking about the 2024 version of Salem's Lot, another adaptation of Stephen King's book, and at least the third version of it on film, the first being Tobe Hooper's in 1979. And then there was a miniseries with Rob Lowe, which I just learned about in 2004. I still need to check that one out because I don't believe I've seen that one. Let's start with the positives in this. Okay, it's in color. That's positive. It's widescreen. That's positive. It's got a strangely appropriate Gordon Lightfoot song, Sundown, which when you hear the lyrics, you're like, geez, this does sound like a perfect vampire movie song. There's a few jump scares, which are okay. But that's about it for the positives, my friends. Now, I'm not going to compare this to the book because it's been over 30 years since I read Stephen King's book. But if you compare it, if you just hold it as a horror movie, it falls short in a lot of places. One, it's very rushed. you don't get to know any of the characters. And particularly if you compare it to the 79 Toby Hooper two-night miniseries, there's so many backstories which are important here that were in the book too, about the townsfolk and what's going on in their lives. And we don't get any of that. We get this rust romance. We get they race swap who Mark is. And he no longer feels like that outsider. I mean, just because he's black, he's an outsider in this New England town, and we see him getting beat up on his first day. It doesn't hold water. It doesn't. This character is really no character. The young man who plays Mark has no emotion either. He's emotionless in his delivery, whereas the kid in the miniseries by Toby Hooper, you felt for him when his parents died, and when things were happening, and his need for revenge and to get rid of this Mr. Barlow vampire. You felt his emotion. You don't get any of that in this. In fact, you don't get any emotion from anybody in this. I don't believe anybody. There's no suspense. We meet Mr. Barlow within 3 minutes of the opening of this movie. We get to see him, whereas in the original, it was quite a shock when he reveals himself, because he does it in such a violent and surprising way. Hold on a second. I gotta go yell at the dog. It never fails. She rings the bells to go out as soon as we go live, and Julie's not home to let her out. So I know she didn't have to go. So anyway, back to the movie. This is real life, folks. There's a scene where they're burying not Mark, the little boy. I can't remember his name now. Anyway, the guy who's supposed to fill in the grave, he's going to do it by shovel. Okay, all right. So this takes place in like 1970 something, but they did have backhoes back then, and they certainly wouldn't have piled the dirt 10 feet away so that he'd have to take a shovel and walk 10 feet to dump it on and back, and it's going to take him all night, and it's going to bust his back. I don't understand the framing of that sequence. It was just so stupid. I can't recommend this movie. I would give it I would give it a 5 as just a horror movie, as if it was based on nothing, and I'd give it a 3 as based on a Stephen King movie. So that is my take on this, my friends. Danny Glick, that's it. Thank you. All right, let's say hello to everybody in the chat here. Got Leg Kick 1. Paul Taylor is joining us. Rob Younce. Bloody Drake. Marcus Kellegrew. He didn't watch this movie. He watched the Yankees instead. Nothing wrong with that. Cigar Gangster is here. Dragon Dancer, who unfortunately did not do her homework. Tisk, tisk. Well, now I've just told you, go watch the original. Go watch the, I think it's free on Amazon. Go watch the Toby Hooper one. Spaceman is here. Bloody Drake says, I think this was pretty good, though I didn't love Lewis as Ben Mears compared to the original. Yeah, I don't like any of these characters, any of these actors, compared to who was in the original. Bloody Drake thinks Barlow was great. I didn't think so. I think he just looked like he walked off the set of 30 Days a Night. Oh, okay. This is the one I said I didn't see. So this is much better than that one? Okay. The Rutger Hauer one has a higher IMDb rating, but, I don't know. Let's see. Rob Fellas, this made my blood boil so much, even Mr. Barlow couldn't want it. Oh, and the guy who played Straker was totally ineffective. He just was some creepy dude. I mean, who would allow this guy in your town? Whereas James Mason, when he was that character, he was so amazingly creepy, just delivering regular lines like, "You'll enjoy Mr. Barlow, and Mr. Barlow will enjoy you." You know, that double entendre there. And he does it with such panache. He was so great and so creepy, but without appearing to be creepy to the townspeople, just different, just aloof. This guy seemed like a pedo, from the moment we met him. And again, lack of suspense. We see him stealing the Glick boy. We don't know it's him in the original. We just see the shape come up and the kid freezes, and then they go to a commercial break. And later on, we see him bringing a bag with the kid in it into the house for Barlow. We don't see Barlow eat the kid in the original. Of course, that was for TV. But it also added more suspense to it. It was just creepier. There was more of a sense of aloneness that we weren't voyeurs into that. We just projected it. I thought it was handled better. That's just another scene where I think they tried to update it and made it worse. Rob says, from the janky editing and meaningless arty shots to the characterless performances in Glycerin Tear, abysmal. Very well said, Rob. Brian Norton is here. Dale A. Rick's 1662. Tom Tuttle's Traveling Salvation Show, who says vampires always stick together because blood is thicker than water. Past Master Dan says a vampire movie that doesn't suck is wrong. All right. Dale A says the 70s version is a favorite of his. Like Kick One says Stephen King's Night Flyer is fantastic, and it stars Miguel Ferrer. Okay. Not sure if I've seen that one, Night Flyer. Brian Thomason is here, and he says the 79 version is much better. Paul Taylor says Alfre Woodard. She's usually in good stuff. She's good, actually. I find her character interesting and believable. She's a good actress. She's really good. Lake Kick One says he also felt Mark was very young. The one in the 79 version was big enough to actually do something. I would agree with that too. Matt Grendel says Barlow in the original one is one of his favorite movie monsters ever. Spaceman loves Maximum Overdrive. Another Stephen King movie. I like Pet Sematary. That's actually the first. I think Pet Sematary was the first. No, Salem's Lot was the first Stephen King book I ever read. I think Pet Sematary was the second one. Chris Thacker actually lives in Cumberland County, Maine. Rick 1662 gives it a 2.5. Like Cook One says he did that with the shovel in the original. I don't think he was that far away, though. Paul Taylor, a fellow Canadian of Gordon Lightfoot, finally says he finally really died. People have said he's been dying for years. There's a great documentary on Gordon Lightfoot. I think it's on Netflix, which is really excellent. I think he was an incredible talent as a singer-songwriter. Jimmy Buffett said he modeled his career on Gordon Lightfoot. Chris Thacker said, "Did you catch the comic books used by the kid? They made a boo-boo and have a 30-cent book in the shot." Yeah, it was a House of Secrets. Graham, Rutger Hauer plays Mr. Barlow and no makeup. Well, in the book, if I remember right, he was just kind of very pale with long, spindly fingers. He was never described as looking like Count Orlok. That was a function of Toby Hooper. So that part I'll forgive, actually. Master Baker 78 says, "I found the story rushed. The doctor's end was very abrupt." Yeah, that was one of those jump scares where you weren't expecting it, when she gets shot. Spaceman says he loves Gordon Lightfoot. Bob Dylan's favorite songwriter. Dylan went to Canada to induct him into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. That's cool. Brian Norton says, "Let's watch Tremors instead." We did Tremors already, so we're not watching that again. How did the kid have what seemed to be a complete collection of Aurora monster models, even in the 70s? They still made those in the 70s. I was building them in the early 70s. And sniffing that wonderful tester's glue. Could explain some of my memory problems. Paul Taylor says James Mason was solid in everything he was in. Chris Thacker says, "I had the complete collection back then, too, for the models." Fins up. Oh, yeah, there was a little Easter egg in there. Christine, the car, was at that gas station in the beginning. Yes, Chris, I've seen Vamps. But have you all seen Joe Frankenstein 3, The Eye of Ra? We'll click the link and you'll be able to see it. And you'll see some of Anthony Gonzalez Clark's amazing artwork. Written by me and Chuck Dixon. Monster lovers are going to love it, so check that out. And Escape from Monster Island, that is pinned to the top of this stream, of this chat, rather. Rob Fellows says, the Aurora model kits were somewhat rare. Were quite rare in the UK, must be why. When I was building them, I lived in Long Island, and the Aurora model company was based in Hempstead, which is 25 minutes, tops 30 minutes away from where I lived. So we had no problems getting Aurora model kits. The Aurora Plastics Company. Yeah, it was in Hempstead, New York, which is on Long Island. Lake Kick One says he read both Monster Islands. Graham Nolan enjoyed them thoroughly. Great characterization. Well, wonderful. Thank you. You're going to like the third one. We go to a different place for the first time. Action takes place off the island and takes place on this planetoid. But there's still plenty of monsters and new characters and action and fun and romance and adventure, which is what the whole Monster Island series is supposed to be about. King's kids used to shop at the comic book store I worked at during college up in Bangor. He would drive up in an old white van and drop his kids off. Huh. That reminds me, when we were talking about Creepshow, I forgot to mention the boy in the beginning who was reading the comic books. That's Stephen King's son, the one who became an author. He's a different last name than King for his books. I can't remember his name now, but that was his son. Yeah, Polar Lights did some remakes. Somebody bought the molds. It was probably Polar Lights. And the original artwork, the James Bama paintings and the other artists' paintings for the boxes, and they re-released them back in the 90s, and I bought a whole bunch of them in the original rectangle shape. I still have them. They're still shrink wrapped and everything in my basement. Joe, yeah, Joe. What's his last? Joe Hill. Yes, thank you, Bloody Drake. That's it. Yeah, he was the kid who had his comic taken away from him by his dad. And speaking of Joe, we're going to see Little Joe tomorrow. If you were a Bonanza fan, Michael Landon, in one of his, if not his first roles, I Was a Teenage Werewolf, which is up for tomorrow. It's probably going to be around 5 o'clock for tomorrow's show, guys. I got to move some furniture for my mother-in-law, and the bills are on. So got some Sunday football to watch. They got a 1 o'clock game, so we'll be done around 4. So I'm thinking 5 o'clock is when we'll do I Was a Teenage Werewolf. King really enjoys giving us broken clergy in his book. Yeah, in his books. Yeah. The guy has no real faith, I think. They wouldn't sell more than one tube of Testor's glue because kids were sniffing it. Annoying. Oh, you get the Aurora Wolfman. It's like this. Great box art on those. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for here today. I got some leaves that have to be raked here in the fall in the Northeast. So that's on my agenda today. Maybe a cigar because it's nice and sunny out. And we will see you tomorrow around 5 o'clock. Till then, you guys have a great weekend. We'll see you. Bye-bye.